Welcome back to Tony Talks Vested Up. Today is Monday, October the 20th, and we are almost 48 hours post the Cleveland and Miami game that Shedeur Sanders did not get an opportunity to play in. But it's okay, in perfect timing. He will definitely get an opportunity to play. So, what is the consensus around the NFL world and the YouTube channels and everyone that loves football and loves Shedeur Sanders? So, the narrative is skewed, random, diverse, degrading on one hand, very supportive on the other hand. What we do know that is week 8. We're heading into week 8 of the NFL regular season football schedule. And there are rumors, of course, of Shedeur entering into the game this upcoming Sunday against the New England Patriots, but of course, it's nothing official. So until he gets on to the field to play in an official NFL snap, we're going to continue to support him. Man, good luck. The young man, good luck. So this is what we do know. Cleveland won against Miami Dolphins yesterday. The score was 31-6. Cleveland defense was elite. Cleveland running back, Quinshon Judkins, was awesome. As I stated in one of my earlier videos, he is a beast and a dog in one body. Judkins, that came out of Ohio State, he is a diamond in the rough. Cleveland should hold on to him for a very long time. So the defense is solid. The running back game is solid. We even had some Cleveland Browns that was unknown, actually showed a lot of promise yesterday. Very, very, very good promise. So a lot is coming forth out of that team. I think Cleveland is actually turning around once they get the quarterback situation going in the right direction. And with that being said, let's go ahead and jump into this topic. So early when I spoke about the narratives being all over the place, skewed, diverse, random, negative, positive, support Shedeur, support Dylan, anti-Shedeur, all these different narratives. One thing is for sure, that Dillon Gabriel is not that franchise quarterback that Cleveland is looking for, that Cleveland fans is not looking for. He's just not it because of his limitations. And that's not a knock against him. However, I truly feel that Dylan is truly believing the narratives that he is better than Shedeur. Now, I definitely could be wrong, but this is what I do know for sure because I've been following Shedeur since Colorado, and I've been following Dylan since, quote unquote, this Cleveland Brown quarterback competition since rookie minicamp. And if you know the history of it, that didn't happen. That was all lies, very falsehoods. There was no competition. Shedeur Sanders was thrown to trash cans. But guess what? During the very first preseason against the Carolina Panthers, Shedeur, without playing one first team rep, without playing any second team reps, I doubt that he got any third team reps, went out against the Carolina Panthers and won that game. It was magnificent. So if you haven't had an opportunity to watch that game, you need to go back, find highlights from that game, and just sit down with your popcorn and enjoy it, because Shedeur Sanders put on a show that night against the Carolina Panthers without any official practice. Now, I definitely want to highlight that game because before the win over Miami yesterday, that was Cleveland's highest game in terms of points, highest game all this year. So before the win over Miami, the only game that Cleveland got over 17 points I'm going to say at least 25 points. Because I think when Dillon played against the Philadelphia Eagles for the second preseason game, I think the score was somewhere in between 20-25. So I'm going to give him that. But besides the Carolina Panthers game that Shedeur started in, QB1 started in, the Miami game was the only second game this season that the Cleveland Browns received more than 30 points in a game. More than 30 points in a game. And they said Shedeur cannot play. So we'll touch on that a little bit later. We'll touch on that a little bit later. So with that being said, the narrative that are going out and to supporting Dillon, I really hope that young man, he is considering everything, because once Shedeur gets out on that field and he shows the entire NFL and all of his doubters and the world that he actually can play ball, Dillon would never see a QB1 stat or QB1 beside his name on the roster. That's impossible. Once Shedeur gets on that field and takes that first snap, especially after he throws for his first TD or rushes for his first TD, it would be unstoppable. But as of today, we're still waiting for that moment to happen. But it will happen. It will happen. But Dillon is not that franchise quarterback. I think Dillon, just to be true to his own self, he knows that he is not a franchise quarterback. Now, I will give to Dillon, he's definitely a solid backup, as G. Bush calls him, a serviceable quarterback. I give him that. I give Dillon that. I give Dillon that. But, you know, I just don't understand some of the narratives that are coming out. But shout out to Cleveland for getting your second win this season. Congratulations. But once again, at the quarterback position, there's work to do. And I really think the only quarterback that Cleveland has on his roster right now that can get them over the hump and reverse this curse that Cleveland has on it is Shedeur Sanders. He's the only one. He is the only one. So let's talk about the game yesterday against the Miami Dolphins. As I stated in one of my earlier videos, each time that Cleveland got down to the red zone, end zone, Kevin Stefanski would remove Dillon, place him on the sideline for Quinshon Judkins, you're right, you're hearing right, the quarterback, to run in those TDs. So once again, just for clarity, each time that Dillon and the Cleveland Browns would get down to the end zone for a potential touchdown, Kevin Stefanski would remove Dillon from the game, and their running back would play quarterback in wildcat plays. So where do you see that at? We're talking about the NFL, and we're talking about Dillon being a potential franchise quarterback. Who does that? I haven't seen that with Dart, New York Giants Dart. I haven't seen that. I think that would be an insult if that ever took place, unless he's injured and have to come out or lost his helmet for a reason. He would be taken out for, the game for that particular play. But for each time that the Cleveland Browns would get to the end zone or the red zone, they would remove Dillon out of the game so that the running back would play quarterback and execute those wildcat plays. So what am I saying? After the Pittsburgh Steelers game, that where Dillon got sacked over 6 times, or roughly 6 times, Dillon threw for 58 times. I think altogether Dillon threw for roughly a little bit over 200 yards. I guess they call it dinking and dunking in the football league. Very small yardages a game. But after that game, that was a definitely debacle. Straight out of the dictionary 101. Kevin Stefanski played very safe, conservative football yesterday with Dillon Gabriel. Whatever little trust that he did have, I think that's over between Kevin and Dillon. But of course, I really think that Kevin wants to save face. That's why he didn't put Shedeur out there on the field yesterday for whatever reasons, he may have internally or externally. But Dillon's not it. So based off the stats on the screen, Dillon is tied 36th in the league by only throwing 546 yards. We're going into week 8, so just put that in your back pocket. He's tied 35th in the league by only throwing 3 touchdowns. I've watched every game. I don't recall him throwing. I recall 1 TD, maybe 2. So I give him 3, but I don't. I remember 1 in the Vikings game, but that was the only it to Judy. But I give him that. He's tied first in the league for interceptions. Reason being, they're playing very conservative football, very safe football by the dinks and the dunks, the 3 to 4 yard gains. Yes, I'm trying to say he cannot throw down the field, and every time he did throw down the field, in every game that I've seen him play, interception. So, in order for him to prevent any type of interceptions, it's dinking and dunking. He's definitely known for dinking and dunking in the NFL. And another thing, his height. Now, this part is what's get me. In the Viking game, I know they lied because I saw that myself. They definitely lied. They had the audacity to put on the screen when the team was over there in London. I guess they didn't think a million plus people would be watching the game in the United States at 9 o'clock in the morning. The NFL had the audacity to list Dillon 6 feet across the screen. Impossible. Here he's listed at 5'11". I really think after watching all those games, Dillon is not 5'11". I don't even see 5'11" on Dillon. No, I'm not going to go into more details about his height and what he looked like on the field. I'm not gonna do that because I'm such a lady. However, Dillon is not 5'11". Dillon may be 5'7" or 8 in my opinion. 5'11", I don't see it. Maybe I know what 5'11" looks like on a man. That's not 5'11", but okay. I'm gonna move on with that being said. But I really want you to pay attention to this stat here. Dillon has a QBR rating of 30.8. 30.8. So when Kevin Stefanski thought that he was helping Dillon out in that Pittsburgh Steelers game, where he thought that, I'm going to showcase Dillon and I'm going to allow him to throw all of these attempts and gain all these yards, and it didn't work out because actually it hurt his percentage because the wide receivers could not catch his balls. Now, that particular game, the defenders couldn't catch his balls. The wide receivers couldn't catch his balls. Even with the game yesterday against Miami, our wide receivers couldn't catch the balls. I really think it's because of that left-handed spin that nobody can catch his balls. But guess what balls the Cleveland Browns wide receivers can catch? Shedeur and have no issues with it because I've seen it myself. Shedeur throws a magnificent ball. But hey, if you don't believe me, at this time, hey, just keep watching football. Shedeur will get his chance. But Shedeur can do this in his sleep. A QBR rating of 30.8, he can do that in his sleep. Shedeur can do that. We're talking about Shedeursanders. We're talking about Shedeursanders, not because of his last name that he got from Deion. This young man is becoming a man on his own by his own merits and his own statuses. All of Shedeursanders, wide receivers from Colorado, were drafted by the NFL minus Will Shepard for medical reasons or whatever the case may be. But Will Shepherd even has a place on the Green Bay practice roster. Will Shepherd can get up and get that ball out that air. So how is it possible for all these narratives to go around and for the people to believe these narratives that Shedeur Sanders cannot play? I can't believe in week 8, I'm actually saying this because last year this time when Colorado was about easy. 5-2, 6-2, very good rating. The number 1 college team, football team on TV, had ratings out of the world. I was on the East Coast and I know most of them games were slotted late because the ratings were so high. Even when the game was going off at 11 and 12 and 1 and 2, millions were still up watching the game. That Baylor game against Colorado last year was off the Richter scale. I witnessed it. That was a classic. That was Shedeur Sanders football. And LaJohntay Wester, I would never forget LaJohntay Wester. LaJohntay Wester, when Baylor stopped Colorado, I think it was roughly 10 seconds left in the game, and Shedeur went back and he dropped back and he threw that ball to his left, and Wester was down there in that end zone in that corner. And when he came around and he slipped on the ground and he caught that ball, man, the Rocky Mountains shook in Boulder, Colorado. Do you hear what I'm saying? We're talking about Shedeur Sanders, what he can do. And I can't believe it's such a disgrace that going into week 8, that there are narratives going around that this young man can't play. But guess what? Fools tell lies, and everybody don't believe lies. The truth will prevail in this situation. So I'm going to go ahead and remove Dylan off the screen. Now, Kevin Stefanski, he will go down probably in history as a well-known coach by any and everybody that likes the Cleveland Browns or dislike the Cleveland Browns. Why do I say that? I say this is because in my, about to tell my age, I almost told my age. In my years of living, I have never cared to know the name of an NFL quarterback coach. Now, besides Andy Reid, I love Andy Reid. I know Andy Reid. I think I know Gruden. I think I know Sean Payton. There's maybe a couple more. But I have never dug down in a head coach, life, appearance. I have to exhale when I talk about Kevin Stefanski. My blood pressure has been so high for this football season because of that man right there on the screen, Kevin Stefanski. I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why. I just don't understand why. And you know, I've actually given it up. I've totally given it up. Tried to understand his mentality and the way that he is. I can't even call it a strategy. I mean, really, he's actually exposing himself, you know, doing the way that, you know, he's managing Shedeur and his talents. I mean, Shedeur is a talent. And Kevin, I mean, I really think, I don't know. I really can't speak on it. It's so confusing. But I do know this. Shedeur, once he entered that field and he calls that first hike, the world will be watching. I saw it myself after each game, before the games, after the games. People is calling for Shedeur's name, not just in the Cleveland stands, but also in the away games for the opposing teams. They're calling for Shedeur Sanders. They're calling for Shedeur Sanders. And guess what? Each week that goes by, each day that goes by, and Shedeur Sanders is not named QB1, guess what? He is still one step closer to getting that QB1 status. One step closer to getting that QB status. That's Shedeur Sanders. He's coming. And when he comes, Dylan just need to go sit on the bench. Because he'll never walk back on that field as QB1. So let them continue to play Dylan until his time is up. And Lord forbids, I pray this never happens. Or if he gets injured, and the reason I say that, everyone knows that Tua Tagovailoa, and I totally hope I said his name correctly, a few years ago got injured badly on the field. And that young man is still dealing with those health issues and consequences still to this day. I am so glad that the Miami head coach or team or leadership benched Tua yesterday in the third or fourth quarter because something was wrong. So something was wrong. Symptoms of that concussion or whatever injury he sustained, I think he started displaying some of that, and they knew what that looks like, and they pulled him from the game. So congratulations to Miami. You do care for your quarterback and your team members. So salute to you. I've heard horror stories about Cleveland when they've let Baker Mayfield play injured. They've let Deshaun Watson play injured, and I pray that they don't do that. Not even for Dylan. If Dylan ever gets injured, Kevin, pull him out. Just pull him out. Even though he's not my QB, I still feel for the young man. Pull him out. Don't let him play because you're trying to prove a point or try to keep Shedeur on the bench. Don't do that to Dylan. You even allowed Dylan to get sacked 6 times in that Pittsburgh Steelers game. Dylan was getting whipped. I was like, Kevin, pull him out. I'm sitting on the couch like, Kevin, pull him out. How deep are you going to let this go? And he let Dylan go the whole game. One time, they hit Dylan so hard, when his head bounced off of that ground, I think before the halftime, I just really thought that at least he was going to rest Dylan for a quarter or something, let Shedeur get in. Kevin kept denying that. I said, okay. But Dylan, young man, like I let it be known, you're not my choice. But please focus on your health, keep your health first. And, just get ready to sit behind Shedeur Sanders as QB2. And you already know that. I mean, I'm not saying nothing new. You already know that. So Shedeur, young man. Whenever that happens, whenever you play your first game, I really hope it's on November the 9th. I wish you the best. I want you to rock out. I want you to play lights out. The screams that will be coming from your fans and Cleveland and even some of the opponent fields. I even think that all the NFL games would at least throw that moment on the Megatron just to see that Shedeur Sanders have gotten to the game. It's going to be epic because we know, even some of your haters know that you're not a 5th round, talent. You was chosen in the 5th round, but you have 1st round talents. Let's get that right. So if you're coming across this video and you don't know the history regarding Shedeur Sanders, in this year's draft, 2025, he was drafted in the 5th round. He was actually projected to go in the 1st round, top 3 picks. I really thought that he would have been picked up by the Saints or picked up by Giants, but I still wanted him with the Saints, but definitely Steelers. But when he got past the Steelers, I said, what's going on? What's going on? And then when the New York Giants They traded up, I think, at the 24th pick. I was like, okay, hey, New York Gators, hey, joke's on us. New York Giants is about to come back and, get Shedeur, talking to town. When the New York Giants traded up to get Jackson Dart, I said, oh, no. I have never watched an NFL draft. This is my first NFL draft I ever watched in my lifetime. And I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Shedeur Sanders wasn't even picked on the second day. I think the second day was round 2 and 3. Shedeur Sanders was picked in day 3. But it went down in history as the most watched NFL draft ever in history. Because Shedeur Sanders was picked in the 5th round. 144th pick. 5th round. 144th pick. Let me say that one more time. 5th round. 144 pick. And guess what? Even that became legendary. Shedeur, before you've gotten to this point, all your steps have been legendary. During this trying time that you're going through right now, your steps, and even you standing still, is legendary. And I know that once you get your first opportunity to play in the NFL, it will be legendary.